Hey everybody, it's Steve. How's it going? So I'm back in Baton Rouge. Got done with the things I had to get done with in Clinton, for the moment anyway. And I was missing my wife and my kitty cats. Come here, Gracie. I want to show you the baby. See, that's one of mine. That's Gracie. Here you go, kid. Sit back down. She doesn't like to be held. She's one of those people. And Ginger Billy loves to be held, but he's chilling on the floor at the moment. So anyway, all's good on the Western Front, and it's now July. Today's 4th of July, Independence Day. Happy Independence Day, everybody! And this is tripping me out, by the way. So today's Independence Day, 250th anniversary of the United States, and I remember the bicentennial. So that was the 200th anniversary of the United States. I was 6 years old, and I walked in a parade with a bunch of Boy Scouts who had a paper mache cannon, life-size cannon, that I helped them make, and because they were just some neighbor kids, so I got to walk in that. So that makes me feel old as fuck. I mean, it is what it is. I am old as fuck, I guess, but I remember the bicentennial, the 200th year, and now the 50 years has gone by, and I'm around for that too. That's interesting. That's weird. Because in my head, I'm not 50. In my head, I'm like, I don't know, 23 or something, something indestructible still. And to come full circle, I used to be Superman. Some kid asked me the other day, how come I had two knee braces on? One on each knee, at least. I'm not nuts. Ish. But I told him, I said, well, I used to be Superman, and at some point I found out that Superman wasn't unbreakable. But I used to fly. It was awesome. And so, yeah, both my knees are hammered, along with everything else. Um, and of course, his face went like, what? Is that dude serious? Oh, man. It's the truth, though. I used to be able to do amazing physical shit. And uh, put a lot of people to shame back in the day. And it was my pleasure to do that. It's how I measured myself as a human being. Whenever I worked construction a lot, and whenever I was working, I would make sure to do double what everybody else was working. It was just my own personal satisfaction. One time I worked for a company while we were carrying bricks, big concrete blocks to some masons who were building a school, and these guys would all carry one in each arm. And so I was like, all right, fine. And I was a good, I don't know, 10 or 15 years older than all of them. So I kind of had something to prove, but it was really to myself. And so I carried four. I carried exactly double what they did. And then I did my very best to be twice as fast as they were, so that as they were arriving back to the place where you pick up the blocks, I was walking away from the blocks or halfway back to where we would drop them off. So that was really dumb, a vanity thing. I really didn't care what other people thought. It was a numbers thing to me. I was still able to do it. And of course I was, probably 20 years younger than I am now, at least. And it's funny how things come full circle. So happy Independence Day. Happy 250th Independence Day. I will say this. I've seen a lot in that time, and we are so different of a country from where we were on our bicentennial. But I will say this, too, that it's good. There's a lot of really, really, really important things that have happened since then. So I know a lot of people that are young don't like the pace of change, like equality, women being equal in the workplace and in life in general, and black people being equal in every way, shape, or form and stuff. There's a lot of young people that I keep on seeing who were like, it's not fast enough. And I agree, it's not fast enough. If I could figure out a way to make it faster, I would. But we have come a long way, from when I was a child, a kid, little kid, to where we are now. And I'm very, very proud however I've had whatever hand I've had in that, and not just me, but I'm really proud of my country for because it takes a ton of people to do that. The majority of my country has been moving this place forward, and we're going to continue to do it long after I'm gone. But I'm going to keep doing it to my last breath. So, you know, like the whole Black Lives Matter thing, it's not just something I wear to make myself feel good. Um, it's something I practice every single day. I see people, you know, a person of color that at one time, even my relatives would have practically spit on, or it would have been expected that they go first, or that somebody moves aside on the sidewalk and it wouldn't have been the white person, that kind of stuff. And I make it a point to be the exact opposite of what that was because I'm playing my part to make change in the world. And when I'm able to bring my company online in 5 years, because I'm within this month, I'm going to start with Prime and start driving truck until I can, for the whole point of 5 years of driving and saving money in an investment account to open my business, which I don't just think, I know will change the world. I don't think it'll have any kind of big hand in it, but it'll be a drop in the bucket, and every single drop in the bucket matters. And just like what I tell you I do every single day, where I smile, I treat everybody that looks different than me or whatever exactly the same. I make sure you know I make sure young pretty women know that I'm not ogling them and that I'm treating them with the same respect I would treat my father with, and that I'm a gentleman in that I open the door for them and stuff like that and allow them to go first. Things. It's not because I'm trying to impress anybody. It's because I want to impress upon people if that makes them feel good, or if somebody casually sees that out of the corner of their eye, if it seems good, that they could be that too. I'm not anybody different than anybody else, but that everybody has the opportunity to be that person. You want to see the world change, be the change. If you're a black person and you want black people to be treated better, be the change. Expect to be treated better. But there's so many people that as a black person you can treat better. Old people, people that are older than you just for no reason. The people your father's age, whatever, and each other. Men treat women better with respect. Don't catcall. Not even just catcall, but don't sit there and stare at their butts and stuff like that. I mean, the bottom line is treat people the way you'd want your little sister to be treated, or the way you'd want your daughter to be treated, the way you'd want your mother to be treated. And you are part of the change. Women, there's all kinds of things you can do to make sure that women are treated better. One, expect it. Two, if you have children, teach them that, men and women. If you have an opportunity to become a teacher, become a teacher. Be part of the change, even if that's not lucrative, which everybody knows it's not. But if you have the opportunity to become a police officer, be a police officer and treat people fairly, and without the ridiculous. Don't get sucked into that. Be that one person that doesn't get sucked into the job to where that, you act like people are just meat, like they're cattle, like you don't care. Get into a position, even at your regular normal job at Target or whatever, treat people right, do the right thing. They're not just business. They're not dollars and cents. They're people. And even if you're not doing any of those things, do like I do. When you see somebody on the street, you're passing them by, smile, nod, be polite, treat them right, and take every opportunity and do your very best not to miss an opportunity to be a good person. And I saw a post by a friend the other day that said, it was something I've seen a lot, but be the person your dog thinks you are, right? I don't have a dog. I've had dogs, and I know for sure. It's so weird how that is, but your dog thinks that you're the best thing there ever was. They think you're Jesus Christ, They think that you're Andy Taylor. Be that. Maybe you know better. Maybe you catch yourself being a jackass, maybe you have reasons for that. Maybe people stepped on your foot. You know, maybe they're not with the right political party, and they deserve your punishment or your disrespect or your sneer or whatever. Whatever the case may be, don't treat people like that. Treat people like your dog thinks that you treat them. Okay? And you get it. If you're smart enough, you get it. If you're not that smart, don't worry about it. Just try to be okay. Try to be normal. But if you understand what I'm saying, try to be that, because everybody needs to try to live up to that. Everybody does, you know. None of us are actually the person our dog thinks we are. But we all have a choice of trying to live up to that every day. And even if you have one tiny opportunity that you don't miss every day, you're doing better than you did the day before, you know. Or on a day that you're doing really bad, don't take it out on other people. You know, they didn't deserve it, you know. They're having the same problems you are, just of a different flavor that day. Try to be the person that you wish that you had facing you when you're having a bad day, that kind of thing. I love everybody that comes to my channel. I really appreciate you guys. I hope that you like and subscribe this. That way, you know, if you like my stuff, when I make new videos, they'll pop up in front of you. And if you don't like my videos, don't like and subscribe them. Otherwise, you'll be bothered by them. They'll irritate you more than you already are. And the other thing is that if you like and subscribe, you will be part of the drops in the bucket that will one day make me earn money from this, which is not my big goal, but my whole point of doing the truck driving for the next 5 years is to earn and put together enough money to start my business with the marketing that I need to do, which is, it's not cheap. It's about $800 a month. And so I have to have quite a bit of money before I can have a year's worth of money saved up that I can do that with. So, and you know, just to prime the pump. And once the pump has been primed enough, within a year or so, I should have about 200 people under me, and then the business should be off and running on its own. But for the next 5 years, otherwise my thing is going to be being alone most of the time, missing my wife most of the time, and just keeping my head down and earning money to try to get my business going. But you guys could definitely make a difference doing the like and subscribe, and one day whatever the number is that YouTube wants to see adds up to where that I get a check in the mail. And man, that would rock. I don't even know what that looks like. I've never really researched it. I don't know what people make. I hear all kinds of things, but I think half the time they're bullshitting anyway, you know? So I really don't know. Not to mention, I'm sure that stuff changes over time. And even if I never make a dime with it, that's okay. That's not the point of what I'm doing here. What I'm doing here is I'm trying to make a difference. And one of the ways I'm trying to make a difference is I'm begging everybody that watches my stuff to try to make a difference yourself. You know, together we can do a lot. You know, unions weren't a thing at one time. Employers were like the Vanderbilts or the Rockefellers, and they were swimming in money. They were like that McDuck guy that would swim in dollars and gold, which I think would hurt actually. But they didn't care. They didn't want for anything. In fact, they were obsessed with collecting money enough to where that they killed people right and left to do it. Standard Oil, when it began to pump oil all over the world in places like Africa and in the Middle East and stuff, they destabilized communities, families, and entire governments, and still do to this day, with mercenaries and groups kind of like the CIA, where that they go in and they just very sneakily sort of poison wells, and so that only so that the people in charge are willing to sell their souls to whoever's got the money, and because of that, those people don't run their societies well, and because of that, those areas are constantly, forever and ever and ever at war, and they can't recover. And it's our fault, because we live in a country that promotes people like the Vanderbilts and the Rockefellers and, you know, the nameless families that were some nameless, some well-named from the Gilded Age, who started all that. Be different. There's a lot of people like that. Even if they're not doing well, there's a lot of people that wish they were. And so they're really, really trying hard to repeat that crap when it's not helping them a bit, because those people already played the chess game out to where it's checkmate and they've got us. And continually, every generation, they get to re-checkmate if they did their work well and laid down the blocks of society like they wanted to where they would permanently keep us off balance, just like the people in Africa, just like the people all over South America and in the Middle East. They've destabilized regions to where the only people that get to be in charge are the greediest, most self-serving, people that don't give a shit about anybody else, and make it their life's goal to step on and wipe their feet on poor people, and to keep those people poor rather than to lift everybody up. Because people that are comfortable, people that are well educated and things like that, they don't do what you tell them to do. And so the Vanderbilts and people like that didn't want that. They didn't want people like that. They wanted compliant, stupid people that were easily freaked out and made emotional. Our country is one of the last in the world to be really, really, really affected by that. I mean, we saw, Africa's been in war forever and ever and ever. The Middle East has been at war for thousands of years. We just made it worse. South America rather, has, I don't know if they were at war forever, but they've been at war since the Gilded Age everywhere in the South America, because we specifically made that happen. Not you and me, but the Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts, even like the Carnegies, big companies like Goodyear went in there, and those areas had stuff that those companies wanted for as cheaply as possible, and so we raped and pillaged the world for it. And the last group on Earth to start, big group on Earth to start suffering that kind of anger, never-ending anger at each other in war is America and North America. Canada's next. If they think it's just us, we're too connected for that. It's going to bleed over to you guys too. It's bled from all over the world. Finally, it's home where I live, and eventually it'll be home where you live, and eventually to be at Greenland and places like that that's remote as hell. Unless we all stand up and take it back, There's more of us than there are of the Donald Trumps of the world. There's more of us than there are of the families that make up at least 2/3 of Congress, There's more of us than there are every single dictator in the world. And the world's taking down dictators right and left. It's just as possible for Ukraine to beat Russia as it is for us to beat the dictator wannabes that are trying to take us down, There's a lot less of them, and the things that they have are money. We have something way more powerful than money and bullets, because I know how to use bullets too. We have willpower. We have courage. We have influence. We can influence all the kids. Our fighting can go on for generations and generations. Their fighting is purely linked to propaganda. And propaganda is powerful, no doubt. But we have more control over the kids that live in our own houses than propaganda does. There's things that we can do, right, to interrupt that. If your kid came home, if your 10-year-old came home and told you to fuck off, you would put a stop to that. I would. My parents did. I never told my parents to fuck off, but well before I got there, I was being sassy. And boy, I'll tell you what, there was no continuing that. Anybody from Gen X, what would your parents have done if you fell on the floor at the grocery store and started kicking a fit? They would have tanned your ass, And there has been far less of that than necessary in the last 40 years, right? And we all know that. We all saw the difference between then and now. And we all see the results of that, The free-range kids, they don't turn out that great, And that's all stoppable because we know how to stop it. Now, those little kids are our grandkids' age now, but we still have influence, And it doesn't just have to be the kids you're related to. We have influence over lots of people, and we need to stop being selfish. We need to stop spending all of our money and time planning the next vacation. We need to spend less of our time planning our retirement and making sure that we have every little thing we need in retirement, and more time volunteering, and more time helping families that are just having a hell of a time helping themselves. Even when they're okay with money, who's taking care of their kids? Volunteer to take care of your neighbor's kids or whatever, and then be a positive influence on them while they're at your house or whatever. We all have a job to do, every one of us. You know, my dad told me one time that he remembered it when he was a little kid. He sat down in a mud puddle somewhere within a few blocks of his own house, and some lady pulled over and spanked his ass. He was telling me, I didn't even know who she was. But what I learned from that was no matter where you were, if you were doing something bad, somebody was going to punish you for it. And I thought that was a great analogy from his day to my day. The likelihood of a neighbor or somebody I had never even seen not paddling your ass for doing something your mom would have paddled your ass for is slim. Now, are you kidding me? They'd call the cops on you. Well, instead of paddling somebody's ass, you could pull over and give them a talking to. And that's not illegal, We all have our job to do in our community. And I think that's really important. I think a lot of us have just pulled back. We don't know our neighbors' names or want to. I blame air conditioning because when I was a kid, people sat out on their porch at night and communicated with the neighbors. The neighbors are sitting out on their porch. The other neighbors are sitting out on their porch. And everybody's kids running around the yard because kids don't get too hot. And everybody talked, And with air conditioning and stuff, it's more comfortable being in the house than it is to be outside the house. So technology is great in a lot of ways, but it brings some things that are unwelcome that we have a hard time foreseeing. Kids don't go outside and play anymore. They have so many video games. They get to live in their own private little world now. That's a lot funner than whatever, and it doesn't teach anything either. It doesn't teach how to get along with people usually. That kind of stuff's still up to parents. It's extra work. My parents worked their asses off. They had 5 kids, and I was 4 of them. So really, I guess they had 9 kids. But it's up to us. Try to be the good person. Try to be that person that your dog thinks you are. And if you don't have a dog, look at other people's dogs and look how those dogs are looking at their person. That dog thinks their person's awesome, and you know the truth. That person's maybe not as awesome as that dog thinks. Try to be that person. Be honorable. Hell, go to AI and ask AI, what does your dog think of you? That kind of thing. And tell your AI that you have a dog and it always seems to really, really love you. And what does my dog think I'm like? And then how would I be that? Something like that. I really enjoy watching people's lives, like on entertainment things, YouTube or whatever, when they videotape their lives and how their lives are going and stuff like that. People like soap operas and stuff, and that's kind of a fake way to look at somebody's life when it's not real. But before you, and I think about this a lot. Before you try to live somebody else's life, don't forget to live yours. Be that person you wish you were. Be that person that's the hero of your story. You can, and that rubs off. That is actually what karma is. Karma, people think that if you're good, it will come back to you sevenfold. That's not how it really works, though. Karma is mathematical. Karma says that if you're good to everybody around you, that spreads. And eventually somebody is going to be nice to you. And it has something to do with because you were nice to other people. And it really is about numbers. The more people you're nice to, the more likely you are to have people be nice to you. And that's just because of math. I'm not a big math person, but I get large numbers and I get statistics. Act the way you wish other people would act toward you, because it'll happen. That's the way it works. So anyway, I love you guys. I'm going to cut it short. It hasn't even been a half an hour, so I'm really proud of myself. Um, don't give up. Whatever it is you're doing, don't give up. Always think about how it could be better. Always and keep notes because I have to think in ink. I'll forget otherwise. And then sometimes you have to go through your notes and pick out one little thing. That would work good here, that kind of stuff. But always think about what you could do better than what you're already doing, like a business plan. Always continue to sharpen your business plan, your life plan. Continue to sharpen your life plan. When you write something down, you never know. Within 2 months, you might suddenly go, "Oh yeah, remember I had that one idea," and that's how it works. It's called a flash of genius. Um, Write things down. You'll use them later. The good things, you'll use them later. I keep notes in my phone on one of those note apps, and and I have a whole huge list of things that I have great ideas on, and then I revisit later when I'm putting together or refining a list, or even refining that list. So, hey, also check out my Substack. It's under Steve Underwood, and I post, and my Facebook is under Steve Underwood too. But I post my Substack URL code, address on uh, my Facebook. So I've got a bunch of stuff that I write on Substack that I think is worth checking out. There are things that you might be able to use little bits of. That I research things to the nth degree, and and when I feel like I've got it all nailed down, I post it onto Substack. I sometimes post it onto YouTube also, but I mean not YouTube, Facebook. But the Substack is where I get to post it all in its complete form, so that you can read it and even see like all my citations and stuff where I got the information. I don't like to present anything as fact unless I can prove it, and to where that you can go and find the place I found it, that kind of thing. So, anyway, I love you guys. And if I had one wish right now, I would wish that you guys would all love yourselves the way that you would all see yourselves the way I see you. You guys are endless potential of good stuff. And some of you guys won't forgive yourself. You refuse to forgive yourself for something you did, something you think you did. But you need to try because you're really great people, You're amazing machines, besides being a great person. Your parents loved you. They did in their own way. Even if they didn't seem like they did, they did. Some people became parents and then, it was almost as if they shouldn't have been parents, but they were. And in most ways, they did their best with you, And that wasn't a fault of your own. It was a fault of, their own limitations, or their own life circumstances. So forgive people. They know not what they do. Or forgive them because they're fighting through this thing we call life just to survive at times. And sometimes where it doesn't look that graceful to you, it is the best they got, And who could fault somebody else for doing the best they have? Even if it doesn't seem like the best to you, that's just being judgmental. It's, again, another mathematical fact. Nobody would ever do less than their best, ever. If they look like they're not trying, it's because they're just worn out mentally or something. At that moment, they are always doing the best they can. Even if it doesn't look like it to you, you just aren't in their skin. They're doing the best they can. They only take breaks when they have to. It's human nature. If you think that they're taking more breaks than they have to, you're looking at them through your eyes, and you don't know what they're going through. You don't know how their life is stacked up against them. So try to remember to be kind to other people, because everybody needs that. Everybody needs that all the time, Even if it's just to get them ready for the next time that they're going through really terrible stuff, they'll be able to think back to that person that smiled at them on the sidewalk, and it wasn't a shit smile, like where they were just thinking about their ass or something, Like women, unfortunately, have to think about with guys. 9 times out of 10, when a guy looks at them, the guy's being gross, Or some 90-year-old man looking at some 16-year-old girl being gross, When she's somebody's daughter, she's somebody's sister. Don't be gross. And women, not that all guys do that. They don't. I don't do that. And not that all women do this, but women, stop looking at guys as a paycheck. They're not. You guys are just as capable, if not more capable than us. Women are naturally smarter than men, and that's evolutionarily smart. Men had more strength back in caveman days, and so women that survived the most were the smartest. So for every man and woman on Earth, the woman's smarter. Generally, there's going to be dumber women. There's going to be dumber men, but the vast majority of women are smarter than men because they've had to be. So don't look at guys as a paycheck. They're not a great source of money. You guys are. You guys need to start inventing more shit. I don't care what the guys think. Go to school, write down your stuff, realize your potential, and realize you guys should be running this shit. Guys have not done a great job for the last, 2,000 years. We've not done a great job. Anybody can do better, anybody. Dogs could do better than what men have done, So women, guys aren't going to hand it to you. You got to take it, period. And the only way you can take it is by outthinking them. You outthought them for millennia to survive. You need to do it now to make our entire species move forward, because guys are going to limit us like crazy if they're in positions of authority forever. And you're too smart for that. I implore you, please take control with your minds. Get out there, get educated, go to work, become bosses. Reward men for the good work they do, but keep pushing other women up, girls and women. Keep pushing them up until you guys take your position. And it's not going to be won through numbers. It's going to be won through good ideas, until finally more people recognize your position in the world, which is you should be in charge. You're smarter. You're not as driven by your balls as men are. The little head doesn't think as well. And women still have that same problem as men do, but not nearly as bad. And that's evolution too. So don't give up on yourselves. Don't give up on each other. Cut each other a break, because you need it. Everybody needs the break. You could be like Santa Claus, except you could be Christmas every day. You can cut other people breaks. You could be kind to them. You could reward their bad behavior with just silence or understanding. What could it hurt, right? Anyway, everybody, I love you guys. I hope you guys have a great day, and happy Independence Day, 250th. And we all just need to be better to each other and listen to each other, and stop thinking like we're the opposite members of tribes. There's no tribes here. That was caveman days. We're all people, and we need to forgive each other. We need to listen to each other when we're making sense, and we need to forgive each other when we're going rabid monkey because our chemistry is off that day. Some people just need a little extra time to smooth themselves out, or maybe some encouragement to get a little less caffeine. So you guys have a great day, and I hope everybody's having a good summer. Later.